Okay, so here we have a hub with the wheel bearing off of an M550 Challenger Cub Cadet UTV side-by-side. And this thing was making a ton of racket. Driving intermittently, we would hear a really loud grinding sound from the left rear corner of the vehicle. And we assumed that it was a CV axle. I was able to locate this inner boot that has a very small slice in it here, and I could see that it was a little wet on the boot of the CV axle. This gasket here actually goes into this hub, and this lip right here slips over the boot of the CV axle. So when I saw this was ripped and I saw that there was a little bit of wetness or grease coming out, I assumed it was a CV axle just based on the intermittent nature of the noise, but it was actually, when I started taking things apart, the wheel bearing right here. So I'll see if I can get this to where you can at least hear it. When I put this inside, it sounds absolutely terrible. So it didn't take me long to guess that this was the issue after just playing around with it a little bit. So I ended up peeling these gaskets out. These are go on the front and back. And it had been a really long time since I'd taken out a gasket of this style. I hammered a screw into either one, not too deep as to not hit anything on the other side of it, not knowing entirely what's there yet, but hammered this screw in, used a screwdriver to thread it in a little bit deeper, and then I used nose pliers up against the edge of this hub here to pry it off, and I got both these gaskets out. And if you can see, this gasket here on that side is more what it should look like. This one's still a little jacked up, but you can see that it has this little gasket thing here, and that helps hold the grease inside the bearing, whereas on this side, I'm not sure how well you can see in this lighting here, but that's totally gone. We can see the actual ball bearings inside this one, and we can also see that there's some grease in here, but little to no. So it makes a whole lot of sense that this is what was in fact making noise. So I ordered new bearings for it. I figured if I'm going to have to press these things out, that I may as well just do both of them, and then there's a little spacer in between the two. But that gasket that you can see on this side, that's totally gone over here. That's what this is sitting on the paper towel right here. This is this is a piece of it, and it's hard like metal, and all this stuff is all also hard bits of rubbery metallic goodness. So this bearing is absolutely junk, and we're going to see if we can get it pressed out. I'm going to use a ball joint press, I think. I forget. I'll show you when I get it up here in the next part of this video. And we're going to see if we can get something just the right size to get in here and get these pushed out without issue. I have the new bearings in the fridge behind me, and the reason I did that is because hopefully being a little bit cooler it'll slide in. I've had really good luck with that, doing bushings and control arms and stuff, like freezing them and then putting them in went really, really well. Hopefully something of that nature will work here. Otherwise this might be a big fat pain in the butt. So let's keep going. Okay, so we have the ball joint service kit from Harbor Freight. And if we pop this guy open, we can see that it looks like a massive C-clamp. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna probably end up using some sockets potentially, But we use all these different cups and things, and we're going to set this up to where we can push the bearing out, and we'll have one of the cups so that there's space for the bearing to push out into, and then also we need something on the opposite end to actually physically push the bearing through. So that'll make a whole lot more sense once we get it set up. So I'm going to go ahead and grab everything I need, pick out the ones that I need, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm ready to go. Okay, so I got it set up here. Obviously this clamp isn't designed to be having something this large inside of it, so I wasn't able to fit a cup on bottom, but I'd at least like to see if I can get this thing moving. So we got the cup that's going to be pushing on the the bearing in the race here, and then this piece is just so that our screw has something solid to push onto. And I have my trusty piece of bar stock that I tend to end up using as a tool in some capacity whenever I'm using this thing. Last time I was using it up top because I was using a socket. I had a spare socket that happened to be the right thing that fit up here. And I've just about punched holes through this thing. And I think this is 3/4 inch bar stock, so it's a lot of force. So always be careful when you're using one of these things. I'm just be really, really weary because there is a ton of force going on. In this case, I'm just using this plate down here to help keep this hub sitting more level rather than here and have an uneven surface and get a little sideways. So hopefully I can hammer on this with the impact. You could do it by hand, but it'd take a lot of effort. So I'm going to be using my impact here. And I believe it's a 22 mil socket that's on here. So I'm going to go ahead and start hammering on this and see if we get any movement at all. I got it on the low setting right now. So, nothing that I haven't dealt with before. This is getting in here a little bit crooked. It's like a 1/16 too small of a diameter. So I'm going to pop this out and go see if I have a socket that'll fit in here a little bit better, because it's just starting to walk in a little bit too much on one side rather than actually push anything out. So I'm going to back this off so I don't have a ball of stored energy here, and I'm going to go do that. And there it all falls apart. Alright, so after using a couple variations of this to help get things going, you live and you learn. So I have the outside bearing completely out. Bearing, race, all of it. On the inside, the ball bearings are gone, the inner race is gone, but the outer's still there. Now, interestingly, which I did not know going into this, would have been useful information, is that part of this hub is in here, where that middle ring is just hanging out, where this guy goes. It's part of this casting. So you cannot push all three all the way through. You can only pull out somehow. Or in my case, what I did is I pried this inner one apart because it was so jacked up anyway. Like, got that inner race out, ball bearings fall out. So this inner race is still here. And I was able to push on the other one with this press all the way through. Once I got it most of the way through, I went over to the vise and I got a hammer and I hammered it the rest of the way out. So this one, totally out. Life is good. This one, we still have that outer race to get out of here. But certainly in the middle, this is part of the casting and will not come out. So if you're trying to press these suckers all the way through, not gonna work. Again, wish I knew this going into this job because I wouldn't have wasted my time trying to drive on these things and wonder like, wow, these things are super duper stuck. Well, they're not super duper stuck. They just physically cannot go that way. So something to be aware of. All right, so after a lot of time and effort, I have this other race out. What I ended up doing was I took my die grinder and pretty much cut or ground 2 cuts very carefully into this race. So I had 2 halves pretty much. And then hammering on it with the screwdriver to get it starting lifting out. That didn't work, so I heated it up really stupid hot until the metal started changing colors. And then I jammed that screwdriver in there, gave it a couple more taps, that small piece popped out, small half that I made. And then I got the other side out really quick after. Probably took me about 45 minutes or an hour of very carefully grinding and tapping and grinding and tapping and grinding and tapping and heating up until finally it's out. So I'm going to clean this all up with some brake clean, see how bad I marred up the inside of this with the screwdriver I was using. I was hammering on. Probably going to have to get some sandpaper and smooth it out a hair. Might use the die grinder very carefully. Don't want to remove too much material though. I have the new stuff sitting in the fridge. So hopefully it's cool enough that I can get it in without using too much force. When I started, I did measure how far each race was from the surface, but come to find out, that shouldn't matter whatsoever because of this cast piece in the center. So I'm gonna start working on that right now. All right, check this out. We got 1 new bearing in. This is the outer bearing. Driving it in, like I said, I had it in the fridge. I got it actually started just a hair by hand and then started tapping it in. Put this guy in the vise. Started using a combination of these things from the ball joint kit to get them driven in. So I've been using this one. I got another one over there at the vise where I was tapping it down. I'm not going to go any further on this side quite yet. Based on my measurement, I'm probably within about 1/64 of an inch of where the original one was before I took it out. So I'm going to stick the new spacer. That 3rd ring in here is going to be a spacer that goes on the interior of where this machine part is. So it'll be bearing, spacer, other bearing. And then we'll go ahead and see if we can get those dust seals driven in, and we'll be ready to go back on the side-by-side. Check this out. We have new bearings and dust seals installed on this bad boy. Honestly, it was smooth sailing with both bearings. Made sure that inner ring was in there. That inner ring, interestingly, has a ton of play in the middle. Like, the casting diameter of that hole is much larger than the ring. So I went ahead and put just a dab of grease in there, just, you know, kind of help with corrosion a little bit. And just help that thing not like be all over the place so darn much. Aside from being a spacer, I'm not entirely certain what that thing's meant to do. But driving these new seals in was super easy. So now it is time for them to go back in the side-by-side. Well, after taking it for a bit of a drive, there's no noise, so I would call this problem solved. Here it is all together. You can see what I was talking about really early in the video here, where that interior gasket mates up to the CV axle boot. But everything's looking and sounding good, so we're going to call it good to go.